Live now to King Shaka International Airport in KwaZulu-Natal, where we are, of course, expecting the imminent arrival. In fact, it is now the arrival, as we can see, that looks like a hearse there, carrying the mortal remains of late Police Minister of South Africa, Nathi Mthethwa. Samkele Maseko is there. Samkele, a very good afternoon to you once again. Give us your vantage points.
The mortal remains of France Nathi Mthethwa have ultimately arrived here at the King Shaka International Airport. You can see the hearse that we are showing you right now. Those are the mortal remains of France Nathi Mthethwa that have arrived here on South African soil and ultimately the province of KwaZulu-Natal. He will ultimately be received by the leadership of the African National Congress. The entire family is here as well to accompany him to come to the statue of King Shaka, who was ultimately the founder of the Zulu nation and the Zulu monarch, who was raised by the Mthethwa and nurtured by the Mthethwa family, whom Nathi Mthethwa falls a part of that family from isizwe sakambonambi sakamthethwa in isizwe sakamthethwa in Gambonambi, that ultimately nurtured and ultimately brought up King Shaka, whom this airport is named after, whom is and stands as the founder of the Zulu monarch. They are the family of France Nathi Mthethwa that ultimately nurtured the king of the Zulu nation, and ultimately Nathi was molded and brought up within that family. His mortal remains arriving here. Then ultimately, when they are done ukuzobonga emswanini at this particular statue of King Shaka, they will then ultimately move to Richards Bay, where he will be put in a mortuary that will be closer to isizwe sakambonambi and the Mthethwa clan, where he ultimately comes from. Then they will ultimately take him to his final resting place on a Sunday at Gwambonambi, where they have their burials on a Sunday as opposed to a Saturday because of Sabbath, because of belonging to the Nazareth Baptist Church. Those are the customs that are followed. As you can see, his mortal remains are there covered within that particular packaging that has been done, bringing him from France, coming to his final resting place. As we did here earlier on, speaking to former Ambassador Sibusiso Ndebele and former Premier and former Provincial Chair of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. He did speak extensively about how Nathi Mthethwa played a crucial role in the formation of and the structures of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. As you can see in the visuals, my colleague Thabo Mthweni will show you Jeff Khatebe, convener, Nomusa Dube Ngube, part of the leadership of the province. You can see the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Marupini Ramokhokpa. You can see Dixon Masamula, who leads the ANC's NEC delegation in the province. You can see the coordinator, Michael Mabuya Kulu Ndiema. You can see veteran politician Sibusiso Ndebele. You can see the former president of the ANC Youth League, Malusi Nkanyezi Kigaba, and also Siboniso Oduma as well, who is part of the leadership of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and Hamilton Beginkosi as well, who is part and who is a former regional chair of the ANC here in the eThekwini region, where Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa applied his political activism within the structures of the African National Congress from Cloudwater, where he was a delegate at the 2005 National General Council of the African National Congress, played a pivotal role in the politics of the ANC in the eThekwini region and ultimately in the greater province of KwaZulu-Natal. Remember, during those times, and the relaunch of the ANC Youth League, after the unbanning of political parties and after the coming back home of the African National Congress to the country in that conference of the ANC Youth League in Ukamhlanga, which elected Lulu Johnson. You'd also remember that the likes of France Nathi Mthethwa were part of, at the time, the ANC had 3 regions in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which was ultimately the northern side where Nathi Mthethwa came from, which is now known as Muhladladla, which encompasses Josaku, which encompassays other regions within the province. As you can also see, just moving aside, the family and the wife of Nathi Mthethwa and the family, they will be receiving now the remains of Nathi Mthethwa. As you can see them as well going to the leadership of the African National Congress and going across to where they will ultimately be seated. That would be Pelesiwe Buthelezi, the wife of Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa, alongside Dr. Sfiso Buthelezi, who is the brother of Nathi Mthethwa's wife and also who is the family spokesperson when they were still abroad in France, communicating the passing of Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa. Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa, they have ultimately touched down on home soil. The ANC leadership is engaging with Dr. Sfiso Buthelezi on the processes that will ultimately be followed, whether his remains will leave the hearse, will come out of the hearse or not. As you can see, they are engaging on that particular matter at this point in time. You can see there Mike Mabuyakulu, the coordinator of the province, going inside to see the remains of Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa. Then we are not yet clear whether the remains will ultimately be taken out of the hearse in order to go to the statue of King Shaka, but there are deliberations ongoing at this point in time. You can see also the stance. You can also see Piwe Mhlongo, who is one of the leaders of the ANC in the Musa Adladla region, where the area of Kwambonambi falls under. Hits him here wearing this particular white t-shirt. They will ultimately take out the remains and he will ultimately be taken to the statue of King Shaka. My colleague, you can see Sfiso Buthelezi, the spokesperson of the family, engaging with those who work for the funeral parlor that has been tasked with sending Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa and accompanying him to his final resting place. As you can see, Sboniso Duma, the Mtombeni, greeting Dr. Sfiso Buthelezi. The remains will ultimately now be moved. As you can see, members of Umkhonto Wesizwe of the African National Congress sending their salute to Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa's remains that will ultimately now be taken out of the hearse. As you can see on these other visuals that we will show you,
what's going to happen is that the hash is going to turn to get inside. We are not taking the body out of the hash, so we are taking the hash into that statue.
Thank you. As you can see, one of the communicators from the government communication information systems saying that they are not taking the remains outside of the hearse. The hearse will reverse and it will go back this way, and that ultimately go closer to the statue. As you can see in these other visuals that we are showing you, the leadership of the African National Congress is lined up to ultimately receive the remains of Nkosi Nathi, Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa. It is Marupini Ramokgopa who has the ANC flag. My colleague Thabo Mthweni will just show you the visuals of the African National Congress flag that is held by the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Marupini Ramokgopa. That flag will then ultimately be used to drape the coffin of Ambassador Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa, where the ANC will be sending out its message that their member, their son of the soil, one of the pioneers of the relaunch of the ANC Youth League in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, one of those who were at the forefront of launching structures of the ANC in so-called no-go areas of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And interestingly, those who will be draping this particular coffin of Nkosi Nathi Mthethwa, they are former ANC Youth League leaders. That would be Zizi Goodenough Kodwa, Marupino Ramokgopa, former president of the Youth League, Malusi Nkanyezi Kikaba, Dixon Masamula. You go to Sboniso Duma, a former deputy provincial secretary of the ANC Youth League in the province of KwaZulu-Natal from that 2008 ANC Youth League conference at the University of KwaZulu-Natal at Howard College, which ultimately saw and moved towards the election of Julius Malema as the president of the Youth League, Malusi Kikaba being a former president of the ANC Youth League as well, whom was president before Fikile Mbalula, who took after him as the president of the ANC Youth League. So ultimately his peers, whom he worked with extensively over decades within the structures of the Youth League, are the ones whom have taken on the mantle of leadership in ultimately receiving the remains of Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa, who will ultimately be leading and spearheading his final send-off to his final resting place. The symbolism when an ANC leader passes away is that they drape his casket with the flag of the African National Congress. Once the remains are now handed over to government, the flag of the African National Congress is taken off, it is folded, and whoever is delegated by the ANC, in this instance on Sunday, it will be the Secretary General of the African National Congress, alongside the National Chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, and also the Secretariat of the ANC, that will then ultimately take the African National Congress flag, which the SG will be a custodian of, and then it will ultimately be handed over to the family, and then the casket is then draped in the official colors of South Africa, because he has been given an official category 2 send off by President Ramaphosa. As you can see,
the Minister in the Presidency for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the second Deputy Secretary General of the ANC is placing an ANC flag on the mortal remains of Comrade Nathi Mthethwa. Thank you, Minister and second Deputy Secretary General. Firstly, let me take this opportunity of acknowledging the patriarch of the Mthethwa family, Mrs. Mthethwa Philisiwe, and all Otikiswayo, Namashenge, and all the comrades and supporters of the ANC who are gathered here on this somber afternoon at King International Airport. Present also are members of the National Executive Committee, led, as I've said, the second Deputy President, Draping, Ramokgopa, accompanied by Dixon Masimula, the NEC convener in KwaZulu-Natal, Malusi Kikaba, Zizi Kodwa. I also see our provincial leaders, Duma, Mabuya Kunu, Nomakuku Smelane, and other leaders who are present here on this very tragic moment. We are gathered here in front of the statue of the founder and emperor of the Zulu nation, King Shaka Zulu. The association between the Mthethwas and the Zulus cannot be separated. We know that without King Dingiswayo, the Zulu nation will not be powerful as it is today. So it is equally very symbolic that the mortal remains of Nathi Mthethwa are being received in front of ilembe eleqa amanye amalembe ngokukhalipha. For me, it's even more ironic and symbolic that a man, Nathi Mthethwa, who played a pivotal role in the repatriation of the mortal remains of our heroes and stalwarts, Moses Kotane and J.P. Marks, where we worked together to bring them from Moscow to South Africa. Now, it's our solemn occasion to bring the mortal remains of Comrade Nathi Mthethwa to the land of his ancestors, Odingiswayo. The program is going to be very short. We have only 3 speakers. To start the program rolling, I'll call upon the Second Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Maruping Ramohupa, to say a few words of not more than 5 minutes. As you all know, Mrs. Mthethwa, the Mthethwa family and the Shenge family have been traveling from Paris overnight via Johannesburg, and they are now here in Durban. Minister.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jeff. Viva, 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 Comrade Nathi, viva. Long live the spirit of Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, long live. Amandla, away to. Viva ANC, viva. Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity, Ngulise Odingiswayo, Onyambozi, Ngulise again, Oshenge, and the entire family that is here. Ngibulise again the entire leadership of the ANC in the province led by Comrade Jeff Radebe, and also the NEC members that are here, the entire leadership of the ANC in all the other regions, the ANC Women's League, Sanko, Kosatu, and all the other members of the movement that are here. As Comrade Jeff has said, today it's a very sad day, but we are also very relieved that the remains of Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, our leader who raised us, most especially ourselves from the ANC Youth League, to be who we are today. We are bringing these salutations, Comrade Jeff, from Lutuli House, from the President of the ANC and the Secretary General, and to also thank Comrade, or not Comrade, Usis Pili and Buti for making sure that the remains of Comrade Nathi are here. Sibulele again Nobabu Mthethwa, who also went to go and take and accompany Comrade, all the comrades that were there, the entire family, so that the remains of Comrade Nathi can be here. Silimele as ANC, of course, but Silimele as well as the country, precisely because Comrade Nathi was not just an ANC member, but he was a leader of government that have played a meaningful role in different portfolios. But he didn't only do that, he was also a patriot that went to represent South Africa in France, but also made sure that whatever it is that was happening here in the country, he had a role that would make the country to be what it is. Today, as a former ANC Youth League leader and member, I can remember that the history of the ANC and why South Africa is where it is here today was actually taught to us and preached to us by Comrade Nathi as we were growing up. But he didn't only do that, he made sure that he reminded us what the movement is all about. He didn't only do that, but he also encouraged us and reminded us all the time that whatever it is that is happening in the movement, but in the country as well, we must lead from the front and we must never give up. And even if the spear can fall from one of us, we must continue to pick it up and run the race. We are going to actually do that, Sis Pili. We will make sure that as compatriots, but also as comrades, Baga Comrade Nathi, that he raised when we were still very young, we are not going to allow his spirit to just rest without making sure that those that come after us also get to experience what Comrade Nathi has taught us. I'm not going to speak so long because we do know that Baba, no comrade, no all the comrades and Usis Pili just arrived from France. We need to allow them to go home with the remains of Comrade Nathi Mthethwa. Hamba kahle, kawe lama kawe, hamba kahle, leadership of the movement. Sizohlala sibthanda, but we know that when your remains are going to be rested on Sunday, all the comrades will be here from the president and all the other leadership to say that we will continue with what you have taught us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade DSG. Without further ado, I need to indicate, as you all know, that the President of the Republic has declared the funeral of Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa as a state funeral, official funeral category 2, which goes with all the protocol that goes with it. As part of the Government of National Unity and the Government of Provincial Unity, I'll call upon the MEC for Transport and Human Settlements to speak on behalf of the provincial government. Comrade Duma, you're on the floor.
Thank you so much, Pungane, for affording us this opportunity. Let me greet the DSG, who's also the Minister in the President's, Comrade Marupen. Let us also greet the presence of the Dingiswayo Mthethwa bonke abakhona namhlanje na oDingiswayo, umndeni wakabuthelezi, uMrs Mthethwa in particular, nayo yonke ifamily. Provincial greetings to the entire Ekelos that is present today. How are we going to remind and remember you, Comrade Nathi Mthethwa, as the others are saying a lot about you? You were a gallant fighter, octagon of excellence, the finest and the rarest breed ever produced in the ANC Youth League, who then led the ANC in a very good manner in almost all the organic principles, as we might know. Today, we are seated at King Shaka Airport, which was as a result of the new dispensation of President Mandela's vision. As you might know, the issue of ensuring that the spirit of Ubuntu exists. We do want to thank His Excellency the President for according you such a befitting and one of these processes for only special breed were produced by the struggle. To us, you will remain one of those comrades. To us, you will remain one of the rare breed in the province of KwaZulu-Natal who excelled even at the international scope. And we are glad and delighted that even in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we also realize the same. And we are glad that the ANC, the giant movement, is here just to welcome you home and pay a homage to the role that you have struggled, to the role that we played in the struggle and the foundation and the pillars. It was you who reminded us that whenever they got a chance to write something down, they will talk about the Bambata rebellion instead of Bambata wars of resistance. Instead of writing correctly about the King Shakas of this world, they will say something negative. It is why today we have a moral duty to pen down and write something that is correct and ensure that history knows whatever happened and whatever transpired correctly. Otherwise, every time those who will be holding a wrong pen will say something wrong about you. Hamba kahle ke Nyambose, Dingiswayo, Inyamas. Kati khona ke ikhona bathi ke inyamazane eyasebenza umsebenzi emkhulu njengomgqugquzeli siyakukhumbula kanjalo siyabonga kakhulu nyamazane imfolo zemnyama inketha abawethu.
Thanks, Comrade Duma. As I'm calling a member of the Mthethwa Buthelezi family, I want to say to the Mthethwa family and the Buthelezi family that your son, your brother, your father, Nathi Mthethwa, played a pivotal role in the struggle for freedom and justice in South Africa. He was a brave man. I remember when I first met him in 1990, he was part of those militant youth of Southern Natal who was prepared to lay down his life in order to liberate our people. He was one of the contingents of volunteers as part of the self-defense units, defending our people against the military onslaught of the Defence Force and the vigilantes of Inkatha. He also played a very pivotal role as a member of an underground network called Operation Vola that was led by Mep Maharaj and General Spiwe Nyanda. He led as well in the Youth League under the dynamic Peter Mukab, Maluse Kigaba, and Fikile Mbalula. So, this is the man we are bringing to the ancestral land of Odingiswa. Shenge, Nyambose, I give you the platform.
Amandla. Amandla. Viva ANC, viva. Viva COSATU, viva. Viva SABC, viva. Viva Sanko, viva. Viva bantu base South Africa, viva. Ngiyabonga Pungani. Comrade DSG, members of the NEC, members of the PTT, led by Upungani Nondiema, Maptelis, uPhilisiwe, Onyambo sebonke abakhona, amashengo onke akhona, a particular mention of Umkhatshwa uze simdumise Nxumalo. Leadership, before I continue, can I request the France unit, which is responsible for bringing Comrade Nathi back, ngicela basukume nje lapha bakhona, lapha abahambile baze babuya futhi eFrance, ngicela nisukume. Ngiyanibona ngiyabonga nambu ubaba nangomunye uhlezi lapha phansi bafike ngesikhathi esihlukile 1 2 bafike ngesikhathi esihlukile kodwa ke silapha lapha esikhona namhlanje. I think for me, as I'm standing here, it's just to say thank you. Thank you, Comrade Tombi. I was saying I don't think there's much to say except first and foremost to thank God the Almighty for taking us this far. Some other times it looks very dark and bleak. Some other times we thought we may not be able to make it. But uNkulunkulu emkhulu, odingiswayo bebakhulu, oshenge bebakhulu, sikwazile ukuthi sifike la. His Excellency, the President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Deputy President Paul, Minister of DECO, and Deputy Minister, Comrade Lamula and Alvin Potes, DG was at DECO, DG, Ambassador Dlomo, who was very central again in trying to help us in resolving whatever problems that we encountered. Staff sase embassy ebesebenza no Ambassador Mthethwa, Dr. Mjwaha, and ngithanda ukubonga nemedia ebikhona ngale, which allowed us ukuthi njalo sihlale si in contact, not just with the leadership of the country, but with the people of South Africa and the families who were worried as to what was happening. Fellow South Africans, all what we want to say is that we are now back at home. We did not come back empty-handed. We came back with the son of the soil. to present him to his family, to present him to his children, to present him to the people of South Africa. Nangu lapha mngwenu nathi. It was not easy. Siyokhuluma lokho ngelinye ilanga. But I must thank uMabuthelezi uphilisiwe. Ngoba ukuba besihambela sodwa nje, ngabe sathithiza namanje France. Ngoba is-French asivuki. Ngenhlanhla kuMabuthelezi ube ibambela akhale avukele khona. Mafanele kuye kuma-prosecutor, siyakuma-prosecutor. Mafanele kuye kwi-health kuphi, siyakhona. Makufanele kuyiwe emamochari, sihamba naye. Siyabonga-ke mtaka baba ukuthi ukwazile ukuthi kulesi simo uphinde ukwazi futhi ukuthi usihole. I think a particular mention of Ubabu Oti, Professor Oti.
All right, we're going to come out of those live proceedings there. That is live coverage right outside of the King Shaka International Airport in KwaZulu-Natal.